All right, here we go with 4 and 5. Let me announce right away. Number 4, the D and the E give us negative values. We cannot do those. So we're going to go ahead and do A, B, and C for problem 4. So the first one, let's go ahead and we are finding the revenue function. So again, this is price times quantity. So in this case, we're going to have the X, our quantity, and the price, which is negative 2X. Now let me remind you that this right here, the P stands for the price, and the D stands for the demand. So what we end up with is negative 2x squared plus 10x. So for letter B, it asks us to find the maximum revenue. We need to find the vertex. And how do we do that? We do that negative b over 2a. And in this particular case, that would give us 2.5. So the next thing we need to do is plug that in to figure out what that actual value is, what the output value is. So we're going to have negative 2 times 2.5 squared plus 10 times 2.5. And when we figure that out, we end up getting 12.5. So the next thing we are going to figure out, everybody, is the profit function. And so we end up with the revenue function minus the cost. Now again, our revenue function is right up here, the negative 2x squared. So we have negative 2x squared plus 10x, and I'm sure I have told you I like to use brackets. So we are going to have the 5x plus 12, which is the cost. We end up with negative 2x squared plus 5x minus 12. All right, let's go on to number 5. I believe we get some nicer answers. Okay, so for number 5, again, the A, we are determining the revenue function. So again, we have to remember it is price times quantity or quantity times price. So there's our quantity times the price, and we end up with negative x squared over 10 plus 50x. And again, you guys recall that P equal to the demand is price. So the next thing we are going to figure out is the maximum revenue. We need the negative B over 2 times A. A in this case is the negative 1/10. We end up with 250. So now we plug that value into the revenue function. So we would have negative the 250 squared divided by 10 plus the 50 times the 250. And we would end up with 6250. So that is our maximum revenue. Letter C is asking us to do the profit, which is the revenue function minus the cost function. And we end up getting negative x squared over 10 plus the 40x minus 1,000. So the next thing we are asked for is the profit maximum, the maximum of the profit. So again, we have to do that negative b over 2 times a, and we end up with 200. And then to figure out the actual maximum value, we plug the 200 in to the profit function. So every place we see the x, we are plugging that in, and when we calculate that, we end up with 3,000. So that is the maximum profit. The next thing we are figuring out are the break-even points. So for letter E, we are doing the break-even points. So to find the break-even points, now again, when we are talking about this, and if I were to sketch a graph, the revenue is a quadratic and the cost is a line. So again, let's say we have this and this. These two intersections would be the break-even points. So when it talks about this, we are finding two of them. So break-even is when we have the revenue equal to the cost, and then we're going to solve for x. So we have negative x squared over 10 plus 50x is equal to 10x plus 1,000. Now when we move everything over to the left, we have to do those inverse operations, and we end up with this. And now we have it set equal to 0 because we are actually solving. So this does not factor, so we're going to be using the quadratic formula. The b is the 40. We have the plus minus the square root of b squared minus 4 times a, it's a negative 0.1, times c, negative 1,000, all over 2 times the a, which is the negative 0.1. We end up with two different answers because, again, we're going to have negative 40 plus minus the square root of 1,200. That's what we get when we do all that simplifying, times or divided by negative 0.2. Now, when we do that, we have to realize that we have two solutions. That's what that plus minus stands for. So in this case, I would end up with 26.794. And for the other one, where I'm doing that subtraction of the 1,200 and divided by the negative 0.2, I end up with 373.205. So when I plug these in, so I am placing the 26.794 into the function. So we have negative 26.794 squared divided by 10 plus the 40 times 26.794 minus 1,000, and we end up with 1267.95. All right, so now we're going to do the same thing for the 373.205. So I'm plugging that into the function. So we have negative 373.205 squared divided by 10 plus 40, 373.205. Those are being multiplied, minus the 1,000, and we end up with 4732.05. So those give us the two coordinate points. Now let me go ahead and write the final answer, what those points are up here. So one of them, the x was the 26.794. Our output for that one was 1267.95. The other one is the 373.205, and our output was the 4732.05. So those are the break-even points. That's it for problems 4 and 5. See you next time.